Okay. Right, welcome to this Coventry Music Museum sounding off event, sponsored by, it's not coming up this time, are you? Right. A lottery. I was going to say that welcome listeners to Radio Plus, but they're not going to be here today, unfortunately, so that's a bit most of the time. And welcome Sam McNulty. Always start with the same question, a big broad question. How did you get into music, Sam?
As a teenager, we used to go down to Tiffany's on a Monday night, and Pete Walkman. That's where most things sort of seem to start from my generation. We used to go down on a Monday night and just listen to music, but he brought 3 bands to Coventry who were all having hits at the time, and you know, in no particular order. There were the Bay City Rollers, the Glitter Band and the Rubettes, and they were probably the first. They weren't the first 3 bands I've seen, because I've sort of seen bands in London. That Slade was the first band I really got into, but he sort of his Monday nights at Tiffany's turned into sort of something a bit more than that, sort of as we got older. But he used to run a record shop in the arcade, which became Virgin Records, which was where we used to sell all our punk singles and that. And he used to have sort of messages sort of attached to the wall from Magnet Records and things like that. Remember Pete Shelley, Love Me, Love My Dog? Yeah. Terrible stuff. It was all pretty fun. All pretty punk, but it was good fun, mate. It was all good fun, and that obviously sort of mutated then into that record shop became Virgin Records, which was sort of where the punk things were sold. But me and Danny Cunningham, who ended up playing on the Squad singles, we used to play in our bedrooms and learning Beatles songs as most people start. And then when punk came along, this sort of ragamuffin called Tony Scullion actually bought one of the original Anarchy in the UK's, and we couldn't wait to get it home, because he bought it in the shop down here on the corner of Ball Hill. Well, just around there, there's a corner shop used to sell white electrical goods. Gibbs, I remember him in there, and I didn't buy one. I was looking at it. Remember that? Yeah. I always remember that and regretted that. Well, Scully came and went, and I'll tell you about Scully in a minute, because he is sort of fundamental to the whole scene. But I ended up sort of with this, you know, not exactly mint, but you know, the original of Anarchy in the UK on EMI. That's gone somewhere. It's gone into the, you know, gone walkies, as most of my records sort of do down the years. But yeah, once we discovered punk, we formed a band, and we started rehearsing at Caledon Castle School with Billy Little on drums. He went on to play with the Urge, Coventry art punk band. And then he suggested this guy called Terry Hall to sing with us, and he said, he has never sung before, but I think he'll be good. I think he'll be alright. He's got something about him. He's a Bowie fan, and he's heard of punk. So we brought him around my house, which was again just off Ball Hill here. I lived on Ball Hill itself, 123 Walsgrove Road, and Ted wouldn't sing. He just wouldn't sing. He was too shy, painfully shy, and he made us leave the room. So we've got like a Marshall amp in there with one vocal mic, sort of mic attached to it, and then Scully's guitar on it, and somehow we got a third sort of input to get my bass going. But we had to stand on the landing for about 20 minutes, playing this sort of riff over and over again, and eventually he just went for it, and it was terrible. Honest. It was just like a sort of a Johnny Rotten type wail, only, you know, imagine Ted trying to do Johnny Rotten and you'd be somewhere close.
So presumably that was the first time that Terry ever sang with you?
Yeah.
So, and you were there, you witnessed that?
Yeah, I gave him his first lesson, for better or worse.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, then with the 4 of us got a gig at supporting Roddy Radiation and the Radiators. And another band, I wish Horace or someone was here, because I'm pretty sure that Horace played in a band with Jerry that night, or there was some connection somewhere. I'm pretty sure Jerry was there anyway. Maybe scouting, you know, maybe trying to put the band together at the time, but obviously we were all interested in punk. He'd got this reggae fusion thing he was after. we just liked reggae because we were punks, and we were supposed to like reggae because that's what Johnny Rotten liked, and the Clash and all that. But that was our first gig on Monday night up here at the Walsgrave, so it all happened along the stretch of road, the first, the initial encounters. But our second gig, our first headline gig, was down on Gosford Street, which used to be called the Hand and Heart. It's now a Domino's Pizza. Yeah. And Billy lived up here on Upper Stoke, up there, the Meadway, and he had to bring the drums, he'd wheeled the drums down in a pram. I swear to God, he'd wheeled them down in a pram, and Scully's Marshall amp was at my house, and I think I was probably playing through that as well. We were probably both playing through that. That was wheeled down, we wheeled that down, all the way down Ball Hill, down to Gosford Street, and into the gig. The PA was already provided to take it on.
Yeah, as well. Right?
And that was Squad's first headline gig, and we did 4 in the end, until the fateful night at Mr George's, when, I don't know if you remember that spitting was sort of all the rage with punk, and Ted didn't like being spat on, especially not by his lead guitarist. And that was sort of, he was dismissed, if I'm honest, he was dismissed, but you know, whether he was sort of left of his own accord or not, as you'll probably agree, it was the worst career movie ever made.
Oh yeah, of course.
Jerry's in the wings waiting for him, because he loved him. I think Jerry had been tapping him up anyway, and they could all play. We were an identical punk band, you know. But we met well, and I sort of lasted about another 6 months before sort of things went a bit sort of pear-shaped. When we were doing all right on our own, we were running our own gigs. There's a good story about the record. The Flies were the first people to produce their own record in Coventry. We knew from the independent record scene, the burgeoning independent record scene, that you could make your own records. It was now the facility to record. It wasn't that expensive to record, it wasn't that expensive to get it pressed up, and records were selling. When you got a record out, it would sell. So we cobbled together whatever it was, I can't remember, a couple of £100 to pay for the recording. We went down to Pathway Studios in London, where all the Stiff records were made, all the early Stiff music, Elvis Costello, Ian Dury, the first, all the early Stiff stuff. And we had the Flies had recorded in there, their Bunch of Fives EP, and we just copied that identically. We used the same pressing company, the same studio, the same idea with the labels, which were just a white label. Yeah. The sleeve was a white label, which you printed up separately, saved you getting a picture being printed. And then Jerry copied that. So that's the Genesis. That's where Gangsters. That's how Gangsters came about. The first original version of Gangsters.
And what was the name of that single?
The single was called £8 a Week.
And I think we're going to hear it now.
Oh, are we? Okay.